Most people can't even drive to Alaska's capital. That's just the beginning. These are 7 secrets Juneau doesn't want you to know. There is a city in Alaska that you can't drive to. You heard that right? There are no roads connecting Juneau to the rest of Alaska or the continental United States. It's completely isolated by rugged mountains and icy waters, so the only way in or out is by plane or boat. Even cars in Juneau arrive by ferry from other parts of the state. And despite decades of debate, every attempt to build a connecting road has failed, partly due to environmental concerns and massive costs. Juneau is located on the southeastern coast of Alaska, just a few miles north of the Canadian border. It's surrounded by some of the most spectacular scenery in North America, with towering mountains, dense forests, and abundant wildlife. But this natural beauty comes at a price. It's the same forces that make the area so picturesque also make it nearly impossible to reach. The city is accessible by car only during the summer months, when the roads are free of snow and ice. And even then, drivers must be prepared for anything. The journey is long, treacherous, and often delayed due to weather. There are no gas stations or repair shops along the way, so breakdowns are a major hazard. For most of its history, Juneau was only accessible by boat. And even today, this remains the preferred method of transportation for many locals. Ferries run regularly from Seattle and other Alaskan cities, and the trip typically takes between 7 and 10 hours. Flights are also available, but they can be expensive and subject to delays due to bad weather. Despite the challenges of getting there, visitors are rewarded with an experience unlike any other. The city itself is a charming and historic place, with plenty of shops, restaurants, and attractions, but the real draw is the great outdoors. Fishing and wildlife viewing are popular activities, as are skiing, snowboarding, and dog sledding in the winter months. In recent years, the state has spent millions trying to connect Juneau to the road system, but progress has been slow and expensive. One proposed route would connect the city to the rest of Alaska via a series of tunnels and bridges, but this plan has been stalled by environmental concerns. Another option would be to build a road along the coast, but this route would be even more costly and time-consuming. So for the foreseeable future, Juneau will remain one of the most remote cities in North America. But that's part of what makes it so special. It's a true hidden gem, a city in Alaska that you can't drive to, accessible only by boat or plane. There is an abandoned gold mine beneath Juneau. Juneau was founded in 1880 after a Tlingit chief named Cowie led prospectors to a massive gold deposit. At one time, the Treadwell complex was the largest gold mine in the world, but today, it sits mostly abandoned beneath the capital of Alaska. Some of the tunnels go below sea level and have been flooded for decades. Lost miners still trapped beneath the murky depths is just one of the many urban legends that surround this place. Before we get into the spooky stuff, though, let's talk about the history. The Tlingit people have inhabited the area for thousands of years, but the city of Juneau was officially founded in 1880 when gold was discovered. By 1898, the Treadwell Mining Company was formed and began extracting gold from the mountain. At its peak in the 1920s, the mine employed over 1,500 men and produced nearly $10 million worth of gold per year. That's the equivalent of over $150 million today. The good times didn't last. By the 1940s, the mine was nearly depleted, and most of the gold that remained was deemed unusable. In 1958, the mine was officially abandoned. But here's where things get a little weird. As the mine was being abandoned, many of the buildings and structures were left intact. This included the powerhouse, which contained a massive amount of electricity generating equipment. The powerhouse was left powered on and has been running continuously for over 60 years straight. It's now known as the Last Chance Mining Museum and is a popular tourist destination. But what about the tunnels? What happened down there? Well, some of the tunnels are still accessible and are now used as storage facilities. Other tunnels were flooded when the water table rose after the mine was abandoned. And some say that the ghosts of miners who died in the mine still linger in these flooded tunnels. In 2013, a local man named Eric Storm began exploring the mine with a camera crew. They descended into the dark, dank tunnels and discovered strange lights emanating from the depths. Some believe that these could be the souls of miners searching for a way out. Of course, others say that there's a more logical explanation. What do you think? Are the miners still trapped in the mine? Or has the gold brought bad luck to those who tried to claim it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Did you know that Juneau has one of the world's largest glaciers within its city limits? It's actually so big that you can see it from space. Just minutes from downtown Juneau is the Mendenhall Glacier, which stretches over 13 miles long. It's one of the few glaciers on Earth that you can easily access by car or even bike, and you can actually hike to surreal ice caves beneath the glacier. But these caves are constantly changing and can be dangerous, so don't go exploring them without a guide. The Mendenhall Glacier is retreating at a rate of 200 feet per year due to climate change. That's why it's so important to visit this natural wonder before it disappears. You can also help preserve it by following these tips. There are several hiking trails with stunning views of the glacier, including the East Glacier Loop Trail, which is a moderate 3-mile loop that takes you through old growth. Forests too, an overlook with panoramic views of the Mendenhall ice field and the surrounding mountains. There are also shorter, easier trails like the 1-mile Taylor Loop Trail, which is paved and wheelchair accessible, or the half-mile long Trail of Time, which features interpretive panels that teach you about the history of the area. If you're feeling adventurous, you can even take a helicopter tour to the glacier from downtown Juneau. This is the only way to get up close and personal with the ice caves, which are formed by meltwater that seeps into the glacier and creates underground rivers and tunnels. The water eventually carves out large caverns, some of which are big enough to walk through. Are you scared of ghosts? Well, don't worry because you can't see them. At least that's what I keep telling myself. Built in 1913, the Alaskan Hotel is the oldest operating hotel in the state, and it's also one of its most haunted. See, this is the spot where 2 gold miners met their demise. Or did they? Legend has it that a gold miner left his wife behind in room 219 while he went to find their fortune. But when he came back, he found that she had turned to prostitution to survive. In a fit of rage, he killed her, and then, unable to live with himself, took his own life. Today, guests report hearing the sound of phantom footsteps, doors slamming, and even seeing shadows that move without making a sound. Now, the story goes that the spirits of the murdered woman and her angry husband are forever trapped in the hotel, doomed to walk its halls for eternity. Well, if you want to hear more spooky stories like this one, be sure to follow for more. Now, with your permission, of course. Let's go explore the creepiest room in the hotel, room 219. Here we are outside room 219. This is the only room in the hotel with a heart-shaped window. See, back in the early 1900s? The Alaskan Hotel was a popular spot for miners to meet up with people looking to, well, have a good time. The walls are pretty thin in this old building, so you can actually hear the piano playing from the bar down the hall. Now, the story goes that the miner's wife was visited by a man while she was staying in this room. She didn't know him very well, but he seemed nice enough, so she agreed to meet him in the middle of the night. But when he arrived, things didn't go as planned. She was never seen again. Some say her ghost still walks the halls of the Alaskan Hotel looking for her lost love. And sometimes you can hear the sound of her footsteps in the middle of the night. Some guests have reported hearing doors slamming and other strange noises. Do you think the Alaskan Hotel is haunted? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share them below. Alaska has the only U.S. state capitol building that doesn't have a dome. But why? The reason is kind of crazy. Before I tell you about it though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. So most state capitol buildings have a dome because, it's supposed to be the seat of government for the state, and it needs to look important, but not this one. When the federal government first built it in 1854, it was just a temporary building. They expected that a real capitol would be constructed soon after. But then they got busy fighting a civil war, and then, things just kind of fell apart. By the time the government got around to building a new capitol in 1893, this building was already 40 years old, and they didn't want to spend the money on a new dome, so they just slapped a flat roof on top and called it a day. The building stayed open throughout all of this. The old brass elevator, it's still here. The marble pillars, they're still here. And you can still ride the elevator and see the pillars today. But how do you get to the elevator? Well, through the old lobby of the Capitol. These days, though, it's just an exhibit space, so you won't find any staff down here. To get to the elevator, you have to go all the way outside, around the building to the back, through these double doors, and then up this really steep spiral staircase.
At the top of the stairs, you'll find the elevator.
The elevator.
Well,
S, kind of small, and at S, kind of slow, and it's definitely not for people with mobility issues. But once you're done taking the elevator, I promise it'll be worth it. Up here, you'll find the best preserved part of the Capitol, including the only part of the building that's actually made of marble. But it's also a bit of a maze with a bunch of random doors and secret staircases. There are no public restrooms up here. But there are these really cool exhibits about the history of the Capitol and the government. There's a secret ice field above the city. Juneau is the capital of Alaska, and it's a city that just happens to be completely dwarfed by an enormous ice field. It's big, it's frozen, and no one really knows what's going on up there. We don't even know how big it is because it's so remote. All we know is that it's called the Juneau Ice Field, and it covers over 1,500 square miles. For reference, that's about the size of Los Angeles. It feeds more than 30 glaciers. But that's not all it does. Because according to some locals, the Juneau Ice Field is also home to unidentified flying objects. Now, this isn't exactly a new theory. In the 1940s, residents reported seeing strange lights dancing on the horizon of the ice field at night. Some said they saw actual UFOs, while others claimed the lights were the work of the government, or more realistically, military flares. Either way, these supposed sightings led to all sorts of legends, including one about a missing hiker who stumbled upon a secret alien base while exploring the ice field and never came back. The truth is, though, no one really knows what goes on up there. And that's because the Juneau Ice Field is one of the most remote places in North America. There are a few research stations scattered throughout the ice field, but the only way to get there is by helicopter or skis. No roads, no cars, no nothing. Well, maybe that's not entirely true. There is one structure on the ice field that you can visit without a ski or a helicopter. A single building with a very specific name. It's called the Mendenhall Ice Caves Visitor Center. It's basically just a glorified shack with an observation deck, but it's still a heck of a lot of fun to visit. Just make sure you bring some noise-canceling headphones, because the 20-minute hike to the center is on a well-trodden glacier and can get pretty noisy. But once you get there and those headphones on, you'll be able to enjoy one of the best views in North America. There's a city in the US that's so dense with bears that locals have to carry bear spray, and it's not even a small town. It's one of the largest cities in the country. And you won't believe how many bears live there. Juneau is the capital of Alaska and has a population of 30,000 humans. And according to the Alaska Department of Fish and Game, there are between 50 and 100 black bears living in the area immediately surrounding the city. That's enough to make Juneau the most bear-dense capital in the US. Juneau residents see bears everywhere. They've been seen wandering downtown, swimming across channels, and even looking for snacks at the local grocery store. Locals say that it's not unusual to see a bear or two just walking down the street. And since the bears aren't afraid of humans, it can be dangerous. That's why everyone in Juneau carries bear spray, just like you'd see in a horror movie. The spray is a less lethal way to scare off a bear in case you encounter one in the wild. It works by spraying a fine mist that irritates the bear's eyes and lungs, making it run away. But it's only meant to be used if you're being chased or feel threatened by a bear. Authorities say the best way to avoid a bear attack is to hike with bear spray. But in Juneau, residents have to use it everywhere. Black bears have been spotted near schools, playgrounds, and even in people's backyards. It's not just black bears. There are also brown bears, which are much larger and much more dangerous. Brown bears can weigh up to 1,500 pounds and have been known to eat people. So it's important to be prepared when you're in bear country. If you ever visit Juneau, be sure to pack your bear spray. It might just save your life. So next time you think of Juneau as just another cold capital, remember this. It's a city surrounded by glaciers, haunted by history, and cut off from the rest of the world. Which US city should we explore next? Drop the state below, and don't forget to subscribe before the tide comes in.